Mhm.
Hey, this is Charlotte,
And Daryl.
and we are known as Team Baker, and we are here again with another podcast, Truth for Daily Living. And we
Yes.
have a great guest for you for this episode, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back, and we'll bring her on. All right, we are ready to bring on our guest. Hello.
Hello.
How are
Hello.
you?
I'm well, thank you.
We are grateful that you are here with us today on our
Yes.
podcast. And we are in studio today and trying to, if you can roll that up for me to the top, moving things right along. But we want to introduce her. Her name is, now I put Dr. Deborah Barrett. And so I'm going to have that scrolling in a minute once we get this scroll bar up. And we are glad to have her. She has a fabulous story, and we're going to let her roll with it in a minute. We're just trying to get this rolled up. So make sure you check us out on YouTube channel while we're getting that together, Marriage Enrichment, The Bakers, and then you can catch this podcast there or on any of our podcast audio stations. And we'll have that at the end of this. Okay. So we're going to start again with, that's the name I want to see. Dr. Deborah Barrett is in the house.
Yes.
Founder and lead strategist that she is. So we're going to jump right in and we're going to let her tell us about who she is. And right as she starts, this is the kind of title we thought about for this episode. We're calling it Vision for the Nations, Necessity of Business, Health, and Strong Families.
Awesome.
So jumping from that,
Awesome.
go ahead and tell us who you are.
All right. Thank you, first and foremost, for being a guest on your podcast.
Absolutely.
And I am Dr. Deborah Lee Barrett, originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, living in Atlanta, Georgia, founder and visionary. Well, no, actually, vision receiver of Catapult Global Incorporated. And I always say vision receiver because God gave me the vision.
Amen.
And lead strategist of Catapult Global Incorporated. We received the inspiration for this in 2018. And God downloaded a strategy to empower underdeveloped nations, well, rather developing nations and underserved communities, both globally and in the U.S. in 5 strategic areas.
Okay, now I'm going to back you up because you went all the way in. I want you to tell us your profession,
Who
if you
I
have any
am.
children, who you
I
are. And
am.
then we're going to jump right into that
All
business. I know you're
right.
excited.
Okay. It's
So-
second nature.
Yes,
That
we want to know
happens
who
when
you
you're
are.
passionate about
I
something, but
know.
I'm also passionate about my family. So let me
Yes.
tell you about who I am.
Mhm.
I am Deborah, and I want you to know that Dr. Charlotte was the very first person to refer to me as doctor. And since then, I have received 2 doctorates.
Yay.
But I consider myself a young lady, an ordinary girl from Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Mhm.
that God called. Like Esther, for such a time as this. I am the mother of 2 adult daughters, one living in California, co-pastor with 2 precious granddaughters. So I
Awesome.
am a Gammy to my granddaughters, and then I'm also mother to an adult daughter here in Atlanta, who also blessed me with a grandson. So I'm grandma to my grandson, and
Great.
this is who I am.
All right.
Yes. So again, the topic for today's episode, Truth for Daily Living, we thought was appropriate to call a vision for the nation's necessity of business, health, and strong families. So jumping back into where you are, so I'm going to scroll this on there too. You started something called what?
Catapult Uganda
And now it's more Catapult.
Global.
Yeah. So tell us about that. That's your business. That's your baby.
There we go. Okay, you gave me the green light. It started as Catapult Global. I received a divine blueprints in 2018.
Mhm.
Went to Uganda in 2019 with a team of about 14 people. Pastors Daryl and Charlotte were the directors at that time for the marriage and family pillar, because God gave me 5 different pillars that we were to take to the nations, beginning with the nation of Uganda, where we're building a prototype. We went there, we launched in 2019 with 5 different pillars: leadership development, but not just leadership development, in particular, catalyst servant leadership development. And then the second pillar is kingdom entrepreneurship. The third pillar is marriage by God's design. The fourth pillar is whole life, health and wellness, body, soul, and spirit. And then the fifth pillar is catapult your ministry. So we went there to launch in 2019. And after then, COVID happened. And then since then, we were working behind the scenes to build the infrastructure of the organization. And when I say we, I'm referring to the Holy Spirit. So he has been directing me throughout the entire process. And then we went back in 2022 with a team of about maybe 12 people to relaunch. But we actually became an official entity in 2021 called Catapult Global Incorporated. And we went back in 2022 September. We went back again in 2023 May, and we're planning to go back again in 2024.
Wow, that's a mouthful, right?
That's a lot. A woman on the move,
yeah,
shaker and a mover.
A shaker and a mover.
And doing global impact, making a global impact.
Without question. That's amazing. Right? You're not sitting back just being gammy.
No.
You're actually changing the world. Literally.
Absolutely.
You are changed. So we commend you.
Yeah, so the grandchildren have to catch up with you.
They have to catch up with Gammy.
Well, the interesting part is it was before my grandbabies were born, and I was ready to retire and be a grandmother. I just kept saying, I want to be a grandma. I just wanted some grandbabies. And then the Lord told me that there was more he had for me in this season than being a grandbaby, than being a grandmother.
Right.
So, but he blessed me with both. He blessed me with grandbabies and destiny.
Great. Now, one of the things we want to ask, is your business structured as a for-profit or not-for-profit? And then we'll tell you why after you answer.
Okay. It was structured in 2021 as a nonprofit organization. Okay. But I have learned of a benefits corporation that we will be converting to.
Okay.
Which is a for-profit entity for social impact.
That's great. Okay. And the reason we ask that question is because some of the podcasts we talk about, we try to encourage couples that are in business together to really think about the foundational structure of business. It's one thing to say you have a business, but if you don't have a structure, EIN number, the government doesn't know who you are, you're not a business.
Absolutely.
And so for-profit is different for not-for-profit. So we have for-profit businesses and not-for-profit businesses as well. And so not-for-profit is just like it sounds for those that are listening. The goal of it is not to make profit, although you can. You talk to your tax advisor, because this is just a disclaimer. We're not giving any tax advice, but the goal is not to make money.
Right.
Although you can. Whereas a for-profit, just as it sounds, it's for profit. Your goal is, I'm going in, I have an idea, I have a service, goods and services, and my goal is I want to make X amount of dollars. So I just wanted to bring that out because we like to tie in what's on our heart as well to the audience, and then also to see what our guests, what are they doing? So that's great that you're going to transition from a not-for-profit because you feel, I guess, it's more feasible to do that.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. And we also realize that in order to impact the communities, the society that we're working with, developing nations, we're also wanting to do job creation. And so with that, and we're also wanting to get involved in business partnerships. So for this reason, we'll not only become a for-profit organization to benefit Catapult, but also to be able to sow back into these nations and these communities through job creation and through business partnerships.
Great. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about, you mentioned the things that you focus on, like when you go to Africa. So basically you're providing services, or you're doing services and goods. Like, what are you providing to those in the African continent?
We're providing empowerment. We are an empowerment. Okay. It's an apostolic assignment. And it is empowerment. Our mandate is to empower the people of the nation to end these underserved communities, to be able to empower their own people. So it's a different mindset. For years, we've had missionaries go to different continents and do wonderful things as far as charity is concerned, but that doesn't necessarily empower the people. So our motto with Catapult is, you know, the old saying, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. But we go the next level and we say, show him how to own the lake, and he'll feed generations. So basically, it's to put the power back into the hands of the people. They are the ones that everything that's needed to build these nations is right there. The human resources are right there. It's simply a matter of pulling out what's in them and also mobilizing the resources that are already there in the nations and in the communities.
That's great. And doing that means that you have to connect with the local leaders in that region and in those communities as well. So how has that opportunity, those opportunities, you've been able to afford those type of opportunities to connect with those leaders? And then have they been receptive to you as being a woman coming to a nation, you know, and then also bringing ideas to men? And then how has that been? And has that been a challenge, or has that been pretty receptive for you?
Well, God really has gone before us with this entire project. We have a partner, Reverend Deborah Barrett, founder and president of World Shine Ministry. He's a man of great influence in the nation of Uganda. He has walked alongside us every step of the way and opened doors and provided platforms. What we're bringing to the nation has been very well received. Even with me being a female going into a society that's male dominated, it's been extremely receptive. I have learned that when God is in it, it has not been a stressful journey at all. And so we have had the partner there in the nation. And also what I think they appreciate is the fact that we're also acknowledging the strength that they have. And we're not coming as we're the great hope of your nation. We're coming as partners. Even when we go, I always introduce myself to the new people, to the people there of the nation, that in Uganda, in Africa, that we're coming as distant relatives. We're not coming as elite missionaries.
That's good.
We're coming as emissaries, and we're also distant relatives, which is very, very real. Our ancestors left that nation years ago through the door of no return, but God has the final say.
He has the
And many of us, as people of African descent, are returning back to the motherland with what we have received in this nation to take back and partner with them to build their own nation.
That is beautiful.
Very well received.
That's good.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That takes a God-given idea, you know, for you to give of yourself and then wanting to plow and also be able to build and be able to make those connections as well. So you wanted to say something also.
Yeah, so you are providing a service in the sense that you're going into that nation and you're serving the people. Although you're giving them strategies and tools, you're still serving them. So I think I wanted to make sure we bring that out, that you are definitely serving. It's not necessarily you're selling products or anything like that, but you're giving of yourself and you're serving the people to help them have a better life. And I think that is so important. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask was, we call it, the country of Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. So if you can briefly tell us, what is that?
Winston Churchill is the person who coined that phrase, the Pearl of Africa, years ago when he went to Uganda. And he was just taken aback by the beauty of the country, by the warmth and the beauty of the people. And that's when that phrase was coined, the Pearl of Africa. And for those of us who visit the continent, when there are different parts of the country that are really breathtakingly beautiful, and the people are so warm and so humble and so kind and so personable, that I understand why that phrase was coined, the Pearl of Africa.
Yeah, I can agree. I'm sure Daryl can.
Yeah, we can agree with that, because the people were warm, they were receptive, and they were loving, and some of them were so very soft-spoken and had so much humility and so much respect. And so it was honorable to serve with you and also to be in that country and experience such beautiful people.
Yeah, if you didn't know, the Bakers went with Dr. Deborah on the first the first installment, okay, the pilot group into Africa in 2019. It was a life-changing thing. Our baby went at the time. She's a baby, she's a grown lady now, but it was definitely something we will never forget. So we're looking forward to going back. And I truly agree that we have to go back in some capacity if we feel that we're called to do that.
Absolutely.
Because we are connected. So one of the things that was interesting to me this year, we had our family reunion, my family reunion, and I found out one of my cousins, her father, he did what Alex Haley did, and that he did everything the research for decades minus the movie. And so she was able to, because she has a huge book, and she was able to tell me the name of the first African that landed here up to me.
Really?
Because he did that for decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was mind-blowing. Now, the lineage for me is South Africa. So our lineage came from the Zulu nation. Yeah. And so it's like, just knowing that, it's just like, wow, the very first African that was brought here. He didn't land, but that was brought here against his will. I know that name up until me. So it's just when you connect the dots like that, it's just like, wow. So yeah, I think it is important if you have, like you said, you feel your call to connect in some way. Everybody may not have this huge vision like Dr. Deborah, but everybody can play their part somehow, whether it's giving, whether it's supporting, whether it's doing something that's needed to help the project.
Or even volunteering.
Even volunteering, absolutely. And I think it's really important, if I can share this. I think for all of us of African descent, however we make that pilgrimage, I think it's really significant because it gives us a bigger picture. And I think with that bigger picture also comes a bigger picture of who we are as individuals, actually, and as a people. And I believe with that bigger picture does come a sense of responsibility. Am I my brother's keeper? What can I do? What can I do? These are really my distant relatives. It's not just words, but it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, what can I do to help with some of the situations that we see? And I have learned that here in this country, we have been blessed beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
We have been blessed beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have received, like you were there when we were there in 2019, when we had the solemn assembly, when Pastor Darrell represented the diaspora. And then Bishop Ise, our spiritual covering from Nigeria, represented the people. No, I'm sorry. No, he initiated it,
right.
But then our launch partner represented the Africans.
Right.
And there was a ceremony asking each other for forgiveness. Not only the African apologizing to Pastor Darrell on behalf of the Africans for selling us for selling our ancestors into slavery, but even Pastor Darrell apologizing to the Africans for us not bringing back the treasures that we have gained here in this nation. The treasures of intelligence, the treasures of knowledge, rather, the treasures of exposure, different things that we have gained that would help benefit them and help them to rebuild. So it was a mutual ceremony of apologizing and reconciliation to each other that was extremely powerful. And for me, it really cemented this vision of why God called us to go back literally in the year of no return, the year when it was the 400th anniversary of when the first African landed in America on American
was amazing. Yes.
That was profound.
Yes, it was. Profound. Even when we went to, and I'm going to move quickly, but even if you remember that, it was like a duplication of a tunnel.
Yes.
And when you went in there, it was almost like you could hear or sense what our ancestors,
the anguish.
The anguish. Even in that replication of that.
Yes, and at the Apex Museum.
Yes. So that was it was definitely an eye-opening experience. Now, the other thing I want to say for our audience, if you could tell us a little bit really quickly about African diaspora. So some of us know, but just to share it for those that don't.
Okay. Okay. The African diaspora, those of us who are descendants of the continent of Africa, when the transatlantic slave trade happened, our ancestors were taken from the continent, and our ancestors, some did not make the journey. Some died, some jumped overboard, and some died from sickness. But the ancestors of the Africans were dispersed between Europe, between the islands,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
between
Caribbean.
America, even some in South America.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are all, I call us all sons and daughters of the diaspora. I'm
Mm-hmm.
understanding even now, though, that even many Africans who no longer live in Africa, but they have voluntarily moved abroad and now live in different nations, live in America, live in Europe, live in the UK, live in different places. They also are considered the diaspora. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically now not only those who were stripped from the continent involuntarily as slaves, but even those who voluntarily left and live abroad. So all of us who are not living on the continent, we're
Mm-hmm.
considered the diaspora.
That's
Okay.
great. So if you didn't know, there you go. I think that's important to know, especially since we're talking about such a great continent, the continent of Africa. So we're grateful. Now, I know he mentioned earlier that, or he asked, was the African leaders or the communities, were they really receptive? What do you think about the people? So I know the leaders were, because they're, they need help, they need assistance. What do you think? How do you think the people, like in 19 and in the subsequent years that you've been going?
Well, with our experience, I'm only speaking from our experience. The people have been very receptive. I think a lot of it is because of how we present ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We present ourselves when we go. Our team members have been made up of all people from African descent, whether from
Mm-hmm.
America or originally from the islands or originally from Europe, different places. But we are welcoming. We don't present ourselves with as if we are superior or from an imperialistic country.
Mm-hmm.
We present ourselves as brothers, as sisters, as friends. And I think people respond many times, especially foreigners, will respond to you the way you present yourself to them. What we have experienced as a team, the different ones, many of the young people automatically refer to us, those of us who are older, as mama. That's a term of endearment.
Yes.
And then I also understanding that in Uganda, about at least 75% of the nation are millennials and younger.
Yes.
Yes.
Many
Yes.
who grew up without their parents, because many
Mhm.
in my generation were killed through that
Mhm.
regime with Idi Amin.
Mm-hmm.
But I have discovered that they've been very receptive on all levels. Of course, there may be some that may be a little suspicious because of propaganda. There has
Right.
been for a long
Right.
time, there has been a wall between Africans and African Americans, or Africans and people of African descent, because of propaganda, because of negative things that have been said about both groups
Mm-hmm.
to each group. And so this is another benefit of us going in person to help tear down those walls and bridge the gap,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mhm.
we are family.
That's
Mm-hmm.
We
right.
are from the same blood. And
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
so we go in person and counteract any lies
Mm-hmm.
that have been told about us to them. And then we're able to, and also on their part, also they're able to counteract any lies that have been told to them about us.
That's
And then
true.
we
Mhm.
say, as human beings, as one person to another, have very open, transparent conversations through relationship building. It comes back to relationship. It
Mm-hmm.
comes back to
Yes.
relationship. And I have found all ages, from children, teenagers, young adults, young marrieds, older married, senior citizens, professionals, from the unlearned all the way to the highly educated.
Mm-hmm.
We have been blessed with people who have been very receptive and who have appreciated what we're bringing, because we're bringing empowerment, and they see our heart motives. They
Yes.
see that
Yes.
we're not coming to take anything from them.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
no, but we're coming to bring
Mm-hmm.
and give and to help them to rebuild.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
great.
That's great.
Now, as far as being once you was in Uganda, did you visit other surrounding cities as well, or how was that trip, and then how extensive did you travel while you were there?
Okay, while we were in Uganda, each one of our trips, we were pretty much focused on two areas: the central area, Kampala, which is the capital city, which we have our second program there in the nation's capital, working with the nation's leaders. And then Rentobo, which is the southwestern part of Uganda, and that's working with a different population, a different demographic. This last trip, we were able to go into Rwanda. And so we have actually received an invitation to come into Uganda, into Rwanda.
Great.
Since that trip, even another door has opened, and we went to Kenya. I went to Kenya, and two of the team members went with me this past August. And as a result of that open door, I've been invited now to both Liberia and South Africa. So what I'm finding is one door opens not just another door, but it opens multiple doors. So it's just simply showing the open door opportunity. And this is again the year of the open door. But there are so many open door opportunities for those of us who are sons and daughters of the diaspora to go back and to help them reveal.
Yeah. So may I say, Dr. Deborah quotation Gammy Barrett. I just love that name, Gammy. It's just, it is so sweet. You are not just a busy woman, but you're a woman on purpose. I can say that personally. And I think that is so commendable that you didn't sit back. You know, even before you say God told you weren't going to sit in a rocking chair, but you didn't sit back and sit in a rocking chair. You didn't say, wow, this is too much. Some people in their 20s and 30s don't want to do it. But what I found is that, you know, in meditation, listen to the Lord, he said, sometimes some of us are marked to do more in our latter years than some people have done all their lives. If we answer to the call.
If we answer to the call.
If we answer. So you have truly answered to the call. So I know the people in Africa, Uganda, Kampala, Rentobo, and I know Liberia, they're going to want to keep you coming on back. And every other part of Africa is because it's so huge.
It's huge.
That this is something that's going to outlive you. You got a long ways to go, but it's still, that's the purpose though, right?
Well, you know, that's actually even the prophetic word that I received when I was given the assignment, even prophetically. And I was told that I was building legacy. And even while I was in Kenya, the Lord showed me that we are, yes, he does have me as blazing a trail, but helping to open doors for others. And yes, he had spoke to me even with this assignment in Uganda that we're to build a prototype in the nation that can be replicated in other nations, because the need is great. But you mentioned about with me and my age and everything, and I do want to mention this, that even though I was ready to retire, and what God has catapulted me into is literally my destiny assignment.
Yes.
So that's why there's great joy and why this is such fuel for me, because I know that this is the moment for which I was created.
Amen.
Great.
And a lot of times,
wrapping it up.
we're going to start wrapping it up, but I want to make this comment
Yes,
as well.
please.
A lot of times is that as you get older, the Lord has loaded you with such great wisdom and knowledge and information. And so you have to get it out, because you don't want to hold all that information that can benefit someone. And so when you get to a certain place in life, because of the fact that your experiences have led you to many, many places, and then you see the needs now, you begin to recognize and understand that those around you have a need for what you have experienced and what you have to offer. And you're just looking for the vessels that will give you attention enough for you to pour into them. And then that's when the teacher really arises, when the student make an appearance and put the demand on that great anointing and that grace that's upon your life. So you can't help yourself but to minister and to pour out and to give, right? So
absolutely.
So
and we could go on and on, and we would love to. Wow, we might have to have you back, Dr. Deborah, because
I would be honored.
We were just at the not even scraping the barrel of this one.
But, right.
But one of the things we want to do before we end, we start asking our guests. We have a couple of questions, but we're only going to ask you one because of time. And so I think the question we're going to ask is, Does everyone have a purpose? Because we want our
Absolutely.
guests' take on it. So tell us your thoughts.
Absolutely. Every one of us was born with purpose
Mhm.
attached to us. Even before we were entered our mother's womb, the example is Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I was formed, before he was formed in his mom's womb, God knew him and
Knew
he was
him.
ordained a prophet.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
in answer to your question, everyone does not discover their purpose,
True.
Mhm.
but every individual on the earth came with a special assignment and a special purpose. And it's up for us to discover it and to walk in relationship with the Lord, to allow him on this to unveil that purpose to us so we can walk in it, because that's the place of the greatest fulfillment.
Amen.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to kind of close out this episode. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Can I
We
say
didn't
one
have enough
last thing?
time.
I do
Yes.
want to say
Sure.
one last thing. I
Yes.
want to
Sure.
say, especially on your podcast, after that first year when your family came with us to Uganda, there have been pleas for you all ever since then. People have said they have never had such training. So
Wow.
Mhm.
I've said it privately and I say it publicly. There
You
is an
don't put us on
open door.
blast.
As God is allowing me to be an instrument to help open doors, there is an open door for you and for your ministry that is much needed globally.
Well, thank you.
We thank you. We're honored. We're humbled. All of that for you to even consider us the first time and then continually. We don't take that lightly. And we will definitely get back to you about that. Now, remember, this was Dr. Deborah Gammy Barrett that was on Truth for Daily living with us. And we are so elated that we had the opportunity to just briefly get just a little snippet, because she has a lot of wisdom, as my
She
husband said.
does.
And so one of the ways you can catch up with her, you can go to her website, catapult-global.org. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes. And go there. Give. How about that?
Yeah.
If you like. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but just go to her website, check out and see what she's done, what she's going to be doing, and continue to do until there's no more to do as far as those particular assignments in maybe Uganda. It's just going to spread. Let me just put it like that. Yeah. Spread throughout the continent of Africa. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You want to say anything else?
No, we appreciate the opportunity and saying yes to this podcast, and then also having the opportunity to share, with the audience, your gift, your talent, and what you bring to the table, and the wisdom that you have, but also the grace to build, and also the finisher's anointing to finish what you start. And because a lot of us can learn from that, and we can, and you have the ability to impart that to many individuals, and then you are also a leader among leaders. Okay. And so we appreciate you for being who you are, what you're doing, and also continue to do what you do, and continue to impact the nations globally.
Amen. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
We will definitely be in touch. You saw how she plugged that little plug there.
Oh yes,
right?
every opportunity
Every
she did.
opportunity
You've
she
noticed
gets.
that, haven't you?
So thank you, Dr. Deborah Barrett, for being with us, and we'll be talking to you soon. Okay.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
We love
Thank
you.
Okay. Love you
Thank
too.
you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was great. Dr. Deborah is funny, but we so appreciate what she's done. So as we begin to end this podcast, again, we want to make sure you remember you are looking at, what are we looking at? Truth for daily living.
The
Truth
Bakers.
for daily living. The Bakers, right? Make
Mhm.
sure you comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check us out on all the audio podcast stations that we have available. You can find that out on our link tree. So go to anywhere in particular. You can go to YouTube, Marriage Enrichment, The Bakers, and find us in different places. You can also go to us on IG, Marriage Enrichment. We on TikTok. We on all the social medias. And then we have a
Notification.
link tree. Yes, we have a link tree, okay, that has all this information. Now, in addition to that, we just want to talk quickly about our services that we offer. We are a couple that also not only is in business, but one of our businesses is we provide counseling to engaged and married couples. Counseling and services, good services.
Yes.
So one of the things we offer is our counseling is available to those who need it. Also, one of our services that I'll show you, what we call Tablescapes Rendezvous for Two. All right, because we think you have to do practicality, if I can get the word out, practicality mixed with other things. So one of the things we do, if you're in the local Atlanta area, we have what we call Tablescape Rendezvous for Two. It's a pop-up in your backyard, on your back deck, in the park. And we think it's a way to have 2 hours uninterrupted with your special one, your honey, your husband, your wife, where you can get to know each other in a different way, because we have activities attached to it along with prepackaged food items. So make sure you check that out. All right. We also are authors. We've written several books. Yes. One of the books we wrote in particular for marriage Takes 3.
Mhm.
And you can catch that on Amazon we also have a word for that. And if you want a specialized copy, you can go to our regular website, enrichmymarriage.com. I'll bring that up for you. Enrichmymarriage.com for a specialized copy. But if you just want to go to Amazon.com, you can find us there. Also, we just did another release because we're writing. We've written a couple of things, books, manuals. I've written a couple of books. One of my other books is Destiny Takes Time. That's also on Amazon. But something I just released.
Yes.
It's an ebook.
It's an ebook, yes.
Called The Profitability of Long Suffering. Okay, now this book was written from personal experiences. So if you can relate, if you've been through some challenges and you thought you were there forever, this ebook is for you. It's a short ebook, but I think it will empower you. It will give you a different perspective. So make sure you check out this by going to our link tree. It's available on our link tree, not on Amazon, but on our link tree. You'll see a link for that. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
And just want to make sure you hit that notification button when you go to our social media outlets as well, and stay in touch, and then also reach out and take advantage of the tools that we have available to you. You can actually make a purchase of those items as well. And as far as the ebook is concerned, listen, the profitability of long suffering. I mean, it sounds like, how can you profit from long suffering? There's a lot of tools in there. There's a lot of training. There's a lot of information in there, and also give yourself an opportunity to think about it from a different perspective, as opposed to thinking about it from a one track mind. Because when you're going through and it appears as though that no one is there to understand what your flight is, what your battles are, what your strategies are, someone understands, and then give you the opportunity to relaunch and retool, so therefore you can be fresh in these moments and seasons of time, that you would not that you don't lose the value of the process of suffering.
Yes.
That you've gained it, and that you have wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and move forward.
So go to our link tree. It's like I said, if you go to IG, TikTok, we on Meta, we're pretty much everywhere, and you'll see the link for that. Okay. So we want to say thank you for joining us on this podcast, Truth for Daily Living. I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Daryl.
And we are the Bakers. And you will see us around town. Make sure you, again, go to our YouTube, Marriage Enrichment, TheBaker, and check out our previous podcasts. We've been having some great guests on our show. We have some more that we've booked that's coming up. So stay in tune. Stay in tune with us, and we'll see you on the next podcast. All right? It's the Bakers.
Peace.
Signing out.